Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Tuesday, April 17th, 2018. If you could please rise and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Briscoviac.
Here.
Councilmember Kicker.
Here.
Councilmember Demmer.
Here.
Councilmember Geisler.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Wells.
Here.
Mayor Cook.
Here. First item on our agenda is to adopt this evening's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Demmer to adopt this evening's agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion is adopted. I almost wanted to start this meeting by saying it's time to drop the puck. But you'd probably rather forget about that's going on. Let's be efficient, huh? All right, we don't have any proclamations or presentations. We're looking to approve the minutes of the April 3rd meeting.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Wells.
Minutes.
Second.
Motion by Wells, second by Kicker. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And those minutes are approved. We have 3 items on our consent agenda this evening. And the first one, which is actually agenda item 2, is to adopt resolution 18-46, requesting an advance of state aid funding for the 2018 street reconstruction program. Each year, the city receives approximately $2 million from the state gas tax administered through MnDOT, which is deposited into the city's MSA Street Fund. These funds are available for construction of MSA streets within the city, including the city's share of county state aid highway projects. We're looking at doing 3 different roads: Riverdale Drive from West City Limit to Northdale Boulevard, Northdale Boulevard from River Drive to Round Lake Boulevard, and Anoka County Hanson Boulevard grade separation project. There are other outstanding MSA costs that will be coming due, including maintenance activities, and the city has successfully used this advanced funding program in the past, and staff will continue tracking our dedicated fund allotments in the future, along with potential projects to ensure adequate funding will be available in future years to cover anticipated costs. So we're looking at adopting resolution number 18-46, requesting an advance of MSA funding for the 2018 street reconstruction program. Next item on our agenda is item 3, and that's just an informational item. There was a corporate officer change at Famous Dave's, and actually in their corporate office, I believe it was. And item 4, the last item on our consent agenda, is to accept a right of entry agreement with SAG Coon Rapids Development. And this is with the new Honda dealership and actually that whole Gateway project over there. SAG Coon Rapids Development received site plan and final plat approval during the fall of 2017 for the construction of a new Honda dealership facility, which is to be located on the northwest and southeast sides of Gateway Drive, just north of Highway 10. There's a significant amount of private water main pipe to be constructed within this proposed development, which is to be maintained by private forces. The right of entry agreement allows the city to periodically enter the property to exercise hydrants, valves, and to flush the system. As previously stated, the utility system within the site is considered private, and the property owner will continue to own and maintain it. This right of entry agreement simply provides the city the ability to ensure appropriate fire protection. So we're looking at accepting the attached right of entry agreement with SAG Coon Rapids Development for their new Sutton Honda dealership location in Gateway Commerce Center, 5th edition. I had one question on that, and I've lost it now. Here it is. So there's an indemnification of the owner. In consideration for the entry, the city agrees to and shall indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the owner, its members, managers, officers, employees, tenants, and agents, and the officer, blah, 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 of any such tenants from and against any action, claim, damage, liability, lost, cost, or expense resulting from the city's entry into the property. And I guess my question is, when our fire crew goes in there, or I'm sorry, our utility crew goes in there and they're exercising the fire hydrants, if one of those valves breaks, leaks, I don't know what would happen to it. would we be responsible for making that repair then? Because it might be kind of an emergency thing? Or would we step back and the owner would be responsible? I'm just curious. It just seemed like I'll be quiet now. That was a question.
They own it, they're responsible for it. It's no different than any other place. If that were to break, we would isolate that for them and they'd have to do the repair on that line.
Okay,
Because absent us doing this, their hydrants would freeze and they would leak anyway, and then they'd be responsible for it at an inopportune time. So this is just a way to make sure our fire protection is in place. They still own it.
okay. All right, that's the only question I had. Anybody need anything, or anybody want to make a motion on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, move the consent agenda.
Second.
Sorry, Steve. There's a motion by Wells and a second by Demmer to move the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that consent agenda is adopted.
You can move everything tonight.
Next item on our agenda is item 5, the annual public hearing on the city's stormwater pollution prevention program. Mr. Hanson, will there be a short presentation on this?
Promise I will make it short.
Councilmember Wells is running the clock on this one for you.
Could I get the monitor here, please? All right, so it's time for our annual Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan program public hearing. And so that's what we're here for tonight. That's what the public hearing is about. Just wanted to give a quick presentation to kind of describe some of the background and tell you a little bit about what we do in terms of stormwater management in our city. So we are a permitted MS4, or a municipal separate storm sewer system agency under the MPCA, or the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And as part of that, we are required, as part of that permit program, we're required to have a stormwater pollution prevention program. And pieces of, or elements of that program include public education. So each year we run quarterly newsletter articles that are provided to us by the watershed. We have information contained on our city website about stormwater. Each year we also do an illicit discharge detection and elimination article. We just did one in our spring newsletter. It talked about grass clippings and washing your car in your driveway, that soapy water. Anything that goes into the storm sewer system that's not stormwater, that's considered an illicit discharge. So we had some tips for people on that. And then the Coon Creek Watershed also comes to our Summer in the City meetings each summer to help us communicate to the public on topics related to stormwater. Another thing that we do is provide consistent training to city employees regarding erosion control, sediment control, and stormwater treatment. So our plow drivers are all trained in salt application methods. Our engineering staff are all trained, certified in erosion or construction site management for erosion sediment control. And then we recently completed a smart salt level 2 winter maintenance assessment tool. Helps us plan, track our salt use. Each year we're required to hold this public hearing. So we've been doing that since the inception of the MS4 program. We also provide our residents information on recycling options. In the community resources guide, as well as special events to encourage paper shredding and other things, appliance recycling. So we also review the current construction sites that are currently under construction. We review those consistently for erosion sediment control. So any development that occurs in Coon Rapids that disturbs more than an acre of surface has to have contracted weekly site inspections to make sure that dirt's not tracking onto our roads and other things. We consistently work with the watershed to coordinate inspections, and then we enforce all of the requirements on our own projects that are related to this. So another thing is that we inspect stormwater outfalls, sediment basins, and then stormwater best management practices. The latter is rain gardens, sump manholes, We do about 20% of our outfalls. So an outfall is a flared-end section that exits the city, or it goes into a water body like the Mississippi River or a wetland. We do 20% of those per year, so a 5-year, the MS4 permit spans a 5-year period, so 20% of those. Then 100% of our best management practices, which are rain gardens each year, sump manholes, things like that. Our staff are trained in the best management practices for handling equipment and hazardous materials. And like I said, salt application techniques and policies are reviewed. We track all of that. We continually monitor our salt usage. Chloride, the introduction of chlorides into our water bodies is a big deal, and we're trying to do the best we can to stay on top of that while providing the safest roads possible. We sweep the streets at least twice annually. So this year we had almost 10,000 cubic yards of sediment that our sweepers swept up from our curb and gutter. Just to put that into perspective, that's about 900 dump truck loads.
Mr. Hanson, we actually sweep them more like, we were required to sweep them twice.
We're
We actually-
always sweeping. We are always sweeping.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing them like
Yep.
5 or 6
But
times.
the
I
peak
thought.
periods are in the fall, in the spring and the fall, and that's when we have to introduce some contracted sweeping, because we just don't have enough
Sure.
horsepower to do it all in those particular periods. We do quarterly inspections at our public works maintenance facility. And then we inspect and repair components of our stormwater system. So we clean, we repair, and then we remove sediment from a number of different catch basins throughout the entire city. And then as part of our capital improvement program, our street reconstruction program, our seal coating program, last year we either repaired, replaced approximately 182 stormwater catch basins, so quite a bit. So with that, I'll turn it over to you to have the public hearing, and if there's any questions that you have about the program, what we do, be happy to take those.
All right. Anybody have any questions before I open the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing for the annual stormwater MS4 permit. Anybody here to address council for the public hearing for the MPCA MS4 permit, stormwater drain, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, everything he said. Doesn't look like anybody is here. We'll close the public hearing. And let's see, we conducted the hearing. We don't have to take any action on it other than that? All right. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. They were going to applaud.
Yeah.
It's fine. We don't get a lot of those, so.
Item 6 is to consider a contract for the 2018 Street Maintenance Program, Project 18-5. And is there any surprises in here, Mr. Himmer, or?
Mr. Mayor, there are no surprises. We actually got good bids, and it sounds like some of our other coalition members will be maybe expanding their programs because of that. But we've received concurrence from all cities that they are in for the amount that they put in for the bid.
Excellent. And this is for our seal coating, pavement markings, crack sealing, fog sealing, yeah. All right. Councilmember Demmer?
Take them all? All right. Move to adopt resolution number 18-5 sub 9A, awarding a contract to Pearson Brothers Incorporated for bituminous seal coating in the base bid amount of $1,648,703.38 and an alternate amount of $1,632,268.34. Move to adopt resolution number 18-5 sub 9B, awarding a contract to Sir Lines-A-Lot, Inc. for pavement markings in the amount of $174,828.10. Move to adopt resolution number 18-5 sub 9C, awarding a contract for Farner Asphalt Sealers Incorporated for crack sealing in the amount of $274,500 $274,511.62, and move to adopt resolution number 18-5 sub 9D, awarding a contract to Allied Blacktop Company for fog sealing in the amount of $125,846.25.
Second.
Motion by Demmer,
Don't do the easy
second
one.
by Kicker. Any discussion? You get to do the lines a lot last year, too.
Highlight of my year.
Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion carries. We're on to item 7, I think, yes. Consider accepting feasibility report and order public hearing and assessment hearing for street reconstruction project 18-3. Is there a Mark or Tim presentation, or are we moving on? All right, works for me. Let's see here. Proposed project, which one is this? Oh, this is the Riverdale one, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'll just briefly say that this is the county turnback portion, Riverdale Drive, that extends over into the city of Anoka, frontage road, northwest quadrant of Highway 10, Round Lake Boulevard. We've had some work session discussion about the roundabout, which is still in there. We're working with the property owner now on some needed acquisitions. We're still hopeful, but we've got about 2-3 weeks to see if that's gonna get pulled together. Absent that, we'll have to cancel these public hearings and assessment hearings and push this out into 2018. But we're still hopeful we can try to get that done yet this construction season.
All right, very good.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Kicker?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 18-3 sub 4, accepting feasibility report and ordering a public hearing on improvement for May 15th, 2018. Adopt resolution number 18-3 sub 10, declaring the cost to be assessed and ordering preparations and proposed assessment roll. And adopt resolution number 18-3 sub 11, setting an assessment hearing date for May 15th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Demmer. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 8 is to consider resolutions designating a portion of Riverdale Drive, Silver Rod Street, 129th Avenue, and Marigold Street as municipal state aid streets. The city has allotted municipal state aid funds each year for construction and maintenance of the city's MSA street system, and the amount of funds allotted to the city is based on a combination of the city's population, as well as the estimated cost of future MSA street construction and reconstruction. Each city is allowed to designate up to 20% of its total street mileage for MSA streets. Coon Rapids has 4.25 miles available for MSA designation, which will allow the city to receive an increase in its annual allotment. So the streets proposed for the MSA designation are as follows: Riverdale Drive Northwest, Northdale Boulevard to Round Lake Boulevard, 0.16 existing miles. Silver Rod Street, 129th Avenue to Northdale Boulevard, West Junction to Northdale Boulevard, East Junction, 0.36 existing miles. And Marigold Street Northwest to 129th Avenue to Northdale Boulevard, 0.09 existing miles. The streets are located in commercial areas and act as collector streets. MnDOT has given preliminary approval to these streets, but requires council approval through adoption of resolutions before final approval can be provided. Councilmember Kicker?
I make a motion that we adopt the following resolutions. Resolution number 18-54, designating Riverdale Drive Northwest from Northdale Boulevard to Round Lake Boulevard as a municipal state aid street. Resolution number 18-55, designating Silver Rod Street Northwest through 129th Avenue Northwest from Northdale Boulevard West Junction to Northdale Boulevard East Junction as a municipal state aid street. And resolution number 18-56, designating Marigold Street Northwest from 129th Avenue to Northdale Boulevard as a municipal state aid street.
Second.
Motion by Kicker, second by Geisler. Discussion? Councilmember Demmer?
Just one question, I'm assuming for Mr. Hanson or Mr. Himmer. If I understood right, the Coon Rapids has 4.25 miles available. We are 4.2 miles 5 miles short of our 20%, so after this, we'll be 3.7-ish short. Okay, so we still have 3+ miles if we find more streets.
That's correct.
Okay. Are you actively looking for them?
That's something we'll probably come to you in a work session to talk about other streets that might be worthy of the state aid designation. We want to be careful because when it comes to reconstruction, it requires possible widening or other adjustments to the roads.
Yeah, and I can see how you wouldn't want to hit the exact max, because it would, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 9 is to consider Resolution 18-57, 18-58, 18-59, levying miscellaneous 2018-1 appealed assessments. The assessment hearing on miscellaneous assessments was held on March 6, 2018. Property owners who objected to their assessments were referred to the Board of Adjustment and Appeals for review at their meeting on April 5th. After the Board of Adjustment and Appeals heard objections on April 5th, 2018, the following recommendations have been made, and based on those, we are looking at adopting the special assessments.
Mayor and council.
Ms. Legg.
If you would like, I've got updated amounts for the 3 resolutions. We gave you tentative amounts, but a few people have paid since, so.
Okay,
Okay, so 1857, the 1-year resolution, the amount is $2,680. The 3-year assessment roll is $2,205, and the 5-year is $5,485.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Geisler?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 18-57, the miscellaneous 1-year appealed assessments for $2,680. Motion, Resolution 18-58, the appealed assessments, the 3-year at $2,205. And Resolution 18-59, the 5-year assessment for $5,485.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Kicker. Discussion?
Your Honor,
Councilmember Wells?
I'm just curious, do we have an idea of the time frame it takes to get $5,400 worth of penalties?
Mayor, council, I think you must be looking at the case number 18-7.
Yes.
And maybe, I think Kristen is behind me. I don't know, Kristen, can you address that? Because I know that these penalties do compound over time, how long it actually takes. I don't know if I know the answer. Okay.
I believe it was mostly within a calendar year. Trevor, do you remember offhand? As I look it up here.
It's compounded August 2017 to December of 2017.
So if it was compounded in August already, then it had already started previous?
Yeah, there had been an extensive previous history with this property owner and code violations at the property. So some of the citations that were issued were not first-time citations, which means that they start at an elevated rate.
I guess, Your Honor, that's kind of my point. You kind of have to earn this amount of fines. It doesn't just happen overnight, so just kind of wanted to point that out.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 10 is to consider Resolution 18-60, reallocating the 2017 general fund budget and amending the 2017 and 2018 budgets. Mr. Stemwell, Ms. Legg, you want to hit on that, or you want me to just read your little discussion points here?
Well, Mayor and Council, what we typically do is review the budgets at the end of the year, and we've already done this once where we kind of shuffle the budgets within a department. We try to stick within a department. For example, in the Public Works Department, we'll try to work with the streets or the street lighting or the snow removal. We'll try to stick within those budgets and reallocate the budget to kind of match those expenditures. Because in those budgets, it's not always easy to know when you're budgeting where the line item is going to occur. So what we do is we kind of adjust the budgets at the end of the year. It's a net adjustment of 0, so we're not increasing the budget at all. We're just kind of realigning it more closely to the way it actually worked out. In addition to the realigning or the reallocating of the budget, there was one item that we're requesting that be carried forward. It was purchased in 2018, but it was budgeted in 2017, so we just want to match the budget with when we actually received the equipment. So those are the two things that this item is covering.
All right, thank you. Council?
Your Honor.
Councilmember Demmer?
Move adoption of Resolution 18-60, reallocating the 2017 general fund budget and amending the 2017 and 2018 budgets.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 11 on this evening's agenda is to consider Resolution 18-61, authorizing the transfer of funds, and Resolution 18-62, amending the 2017 Park Improvement Fund budget. This one has a few more bullet points.
Yeah,
Somebody want to just
sorry.
hit the highlights?
Well, basically, Mayor and Council, what we're doing is we wait till the year is done. Most of these transfers have been budgeted when we went through the budget initially, except for the first one. The first is the, well, I guess it's actually the second one, where what we do is we make sure that there is the minimum balance that we need per our fund balance policy in the general fund. And due to generally vacancies, and in this case, excess revenues or more revenues than anticipated because of the storm, the hailstorm, we had a whole lot of building permits. So we ended the year in a positive where we can take $1.4 million and put it in the facilities construction fund. We've been doing that for a number of days, or a number of years. It sits in that facilities construction fund until there's a facility-wide sort of improvement that's needed. We try not to have routine things come out of there, but more roofs and carpets or air conditioning units or bigger type items. So that's what we use that fund for. So that's the biggest transfer, and that's the good news transfer. The rest of them are mostly budgeted. We are in this resolution just kind of adopting the budget, which council was alerted to when we wrote the memos back in, I think it was like maybe September, about the Plaza Park. We talked about how we're going to fund it, but we never officially adopted the budget. So we're also doing that in this document here. So we've got the resolution where we're transferring in between funds within the city, and then also authorizing or amending that budget for the Park Improvement Fund for that plaza, the Boulevard Plaza Park.
Council, questions? Motion?
Question.
Councilmember Demmer?
I only ask because it kind of sticks out age-wise, but there's a 1995 improvement bonds funds to a 2008 improvement bonds funds. Are those the ones you're closing out, or what? How do we have something that old?
We do, and the reason why we have something that old is because special assessments kept dwindling in. So it's
Okay.
really difficult to reprogram those special assessments in our accounting system. I know it's kind of a technicality, but they keep dwindling in, so until they're really done, we can't really close it, so.
I can
Perfect.
move to adopt Resolution 18-61, authorizing the transfer of funds, and 18-62, amending the 2017 Park Improvement Fund.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Geisler. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 12 is to consider resolution number 18-9 sub 8, accepting plans and specifications for the 2018 well rehabilitation and authorizing solicitation of bids. We're looking at rehabilitation of well numbers 4, 5, and 6 with contract A, and East Water Tower.
Treatment plant.
Oh, water treatment plant, God. Booster pump number 1, all right. I feel like such a fool.
So close.
Water, yeah. All right, does anybody need any information on this other than that it's the water treatment plant?
Your Honor,
Councilmember Demmer?
move to adopt resolution number 18-9 sub 8, accepting plans and specifications for the 2018 well rehabilitation and authorized solicitation of bids.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Kicker. Discussion? Motion by Demmer, second by Griscoviac. Discussion?
You sound alike.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 13 on our agenda is to consider a revocation of therapeutic massage enterprise license for Blue Sky Spa, 2393 Coon Rapids Boulevard. Ms. Lensmeyer, you want to?
Yes, I do, thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you is a request for a revocation at Blue Sky Spa, 2393 Coon Rapids Boulevard, due to numerous code violations as outlined in the memo. The most important of which I think is that we've got an untrained and unlicensed therapist, actually 2 of them operating at the location, which I think is what's causing the list of concerns outlined in the memo. They are in the audience with an attorney and would like to, the purpose of this is for them to have their say and explain to you what's going on for them from their perspective. Does council have any questions before we go forward?
Any questions for Ms. Lensmeyer before we move on? No? All right. If you would please step up to the mic and introduce yourself and let us know what's going on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Monica Steele. I'm the counsel for my client, Mr. Wang. Yes. Did everybody read my reply letter, please? Yeah, I don't understand how somebody can twist my words to say not that my client did an under table deal, or it's just such a twist. I don't know. Would you please give me your interpretation of my letter compared with the county clerk's interpretation? The county clerk's letter read. Here, Greg, would you like to?
You should spend your time up here talking about the substance.
Okay. Because I'm really very, very emotional about this kind of twist.
So,
May I interject?
sure, and you are, sir?
My name is Greg Mulligan. I'm also an attorney. I'm in partnership with Ms. Steele.
Okay.
The reason we're here, Your Honor, is to point out that our client, Mr. Wong, is not a monster. He's not a bad guy. He's not going to be bad for the city. He's going to be good for the city. He may not have the proper licensing to operate in Coon Rapids, but that's not because of an intentional act. That's because of a mistake. He came here licensed in California, as did his partner. She is also licensed in California. I can't pronounce her name, but the 2 of them together are operating this business. It's a perfectly good operation. I was just there myself. The facility is fine. And they are now aware of all their shortcomings with regard to licensing, and they are taking steps, the necessary steps to get in line with the rules. I'm here to ask the council and Your Honor, the mayor, to get behind them. Let them have another chance. Let them be a contributing member of the community. They're ready to do that, and I think that putting them out of business is just unfair and rash, I think. In these past few weeks, we've gotten to know Mr. Wong, and he's a very nice fellow. There's no reason that he should not be in business here in Coon Rapids. And while he denies those 2 customer complaints, I don't have to repeat them to you, he can tell you that nothing like that is going to happen in the future. And we can argue about whether or not it happened in the past, but if it did, it was certainly accidental. I don't know, if anything, this experience will make him more careful in the future to be more perfect. And I think you should give him a chance instead of shutting him down after he spent a lot of money to buy the business and moved here in what he thought would be a much nicer place to live. And I think it is, and I think we should let him know that. Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, the couple just wanted to have a job here and make her live in here, that's all. They don't speak English. It's very difficult for them to make her live in here. And the city council does not have to add more burden for them. They are willing to do the right thing. They're willing to correct anything that is comply with law. Please reconsider that. Don't revoke his enterprise license and give him the chance to correct everything.
So who actually has a license there now then? Because you have to have a licensed therapist there before we can issue an enterprise license. Who's the licensed therapist there now? Because according to the letter, there isn't one and won't be until May.
Yeah, actually, this is the original owner, the woman who sold the store to them. Because the original owner who sold the store to them told them that she's going to be there until the couple receive their own license. So
Is
that's,
she there?
and after the thing is, that woman's a liar. She just wanted to sell their store as quick as possible, and then after she sold the store to the couple, she basically disappeared. Anytime, if my client calls her, she would say, "Oh, I'm busy. Sorry, I cannot answer the phone. Sorry, I cannot come over now," or whatever. "I can call you later," but she never does. So it's
Because it seems like their challenges are really with the previous owner and not with any action from us. It's pretty clear you have to have licensed therapists in order to have a licensed business, and you don't have them. They're not there.
I know, and my client, they're willing to wait until they receive their license. They say if it's necessary for them to close the store for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, that's okay. They're willing to do that. They're receiving pretty soon they're going to receive their license.
Mr. Brody, is that who had their hand up?
Joan had her hand up.
Ms. Lensmeyer.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the concern I have is that through an interpreter, Mr. Wong has been informed several times that he is not allowed to operate without a properly certified, trained massage therapist that's licensed through the city, and it continues to happen. So.
Oh, right, and we can't issue an enterprise license unless they have that licensed therapist there, correct?
That is correct.
So I don't really see where I don't see where we have an option here, but Mr. Brody?
Just one other point too, if council does choose to follow staff's recommendation and revoke the license today, it doesn't prohibit this location or these, to come in and reapply if they have, the proper licensing. Some of our other codes, I think most of our alcohol codes say if your license gets revoked, you can't reapply within a year. Our massage therapist and enterprise doesn't have that kind of restriction. So if they are able to come into compliance or able to apply for a license and meet all of our licensing requirement, whether it's tomorrow, 1 month from now, 3 months from now, we'll look at their application. If they meet those, our requirements, we'll issue them their license. If they don't, then, nobody's for the worst at that point.
I'm having a hard time understanding the ramifications of the revocation because they can't conduct business there now because they don't have a licensed therapist. So whether they have a license or not, whether we revoke the license or not, they can't do any business there. So I guess I'm going to support the staff recommendation to revoke it, and whenever they get a licensed therapist, they can come back in and reapply. Mr. Brody?
And I can tell council that this is one of our steps in this process. Obviously, if they continue, if the license is revoked, or if it's not revoked and they continue to operate out there without a licensed therapist, there's potential other ramifications. It's also part of our criminal section that they can be charged, the individual, with, operating or providing massages without the proper licensing, as the business owner could too, for allowing that to happen. So, like I said, this is just one step of our process. We would like them to come into compliance. We'd like them to be able to have be able to apply and operate their business properly, but at this point, they haven't and aren't able to do so without a licensed massage therapist.
Mr. Mulligan, it looked like you were ready to say something over there.
Yes, I was going to say that sounds like a perfectly appropriate approach, as long as they're not precluded from applying for some period of time, I think is what we hope to avoid as the worst-case scenario.
Oh, yeah, and
There's nothing in the code that would prevent them from, once they've come into compliance with the requirements.
yeah, so once they have their licensed therapist, they can come back in and apply. Is that the process?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Okay. Councilmember Demmer?
And, so that you understand, if we move to revoke the license, which is a likely outcome, that is not us giving any indication for what to do with a further application. Any further application gets reviewed on its merits. They're, looking through some of the code, there may be challenges because, for example, there's a line about if the applicant has ever falsified a prior application, that does make the path more difficult. So there are things you'll have to work through with the staff, and it will not be our job to direct the staff one way or another. We will deal with simply the facts on the ground right now, which is they're operating without a license. I do have a question about, I understand your concern about the minutes saying under the table deal, and so I think that might be something we should change the wording on, but before we do, I do need to ask, in your answer, you said that when they bought the Blue Sky from the former owner, a condition of the deal was that the former owner was to stay.
Yeah.
Was that part of a written contract, or is that a handshake deal?
It's the oral, it's an oral deal, yeah.
Okay. So maybe instead of under the table, we should say an oral agreement or something, just to avoid any sort of judgmental tone to the language. It's very unfortunate that wasn't in a contract, because then you could go after them for breach of contract.
Are you starting to dispense legal
I'm
advice?
just,
here,
no,
Demmer?
it's more of, I think it's unfortunate, because I think our hands are really set, right? We have, from my point of view, we have someone operating without a license, and we can't have that. And so we have to close it down and make them go through the process. Their redress would have been to get money back from the person who breached a contract, but if the contract wasn't written, that puts them in a difficult spot.
Would it be fair to say that they could simply hire someone with a license and get to work? Applying for a license?
Councilmember Johnson.
Candidly, I want to stay focused on the issues of the violations, and I would encourage council to direct questions to city staff along those lines. I have to say that, as a felony prosecutor, I get really, frankly, gravely concerned when I see information about advertising on back pages, which has now been closed. I can't tell you how many criminal sexual conduct cases I have prosecuted or had to deal with that have had advertising on backpages.com and other social media websites like adultlook.com. And so that is extraordinarily concerning to me, but, and there's other information in here about dissatisfied customers. Frankly, I'm not that concerned about whether the marketplace can sort out dissatisfied versus happy customers. The reality is that the staff has identified here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, perhaps 7 violations of city code, plus the concerning information about advertising that causes me to want to support the staff's recommendation. And I would just, when council is advising their client, refer to Chapter 325D.44, Minnesota's Deceptive Trades Practices Statute, which talks about passing off goods or services as those of another, or causes the likelihood of confusion or of misunderstanding as to the source, sponsorship, approval, or certification of goods or services, or causes the likelihood of confusion or of misunderstanding as to the affiliation, connection, or association with, or certification by another. That is why the certifications of the licensed massage therapist are so important, and that's why that's one of the reasons why we're concerned and why we've got city codes that deal with those issues. And then people, as customers, go in and they part with their money based on an understanding that the city is allowing this business to operate, and that then gets into other concerns. Council for the city addressed the issue of possible criminal ramifications, and there is the possibility of operating an unlicensed massage therapy business. There's also the issue of potential theft by swindle under Chapter 609.52 subdivision 2.4. And so I think there are real significant concerns that the city has about this business. I think this city has in the past kept a very open mind and has dealt very fairly with businesses that have been in similar situations like this, but I think this is a time, and I say this respectfully, and I appreciate council's remarks. I read your letter and considered it, but this is a time when the city council, and I hope, will support the staff in upholding their recommendation to revoke this license at this time, because under these circumstances, this business can't and shouldn't operate in the city of Coon Rapids. And I say that respectfully to council, who's come up and spoke very reasonably with respect to representing his client and her client. Thank you.
Nothing further.
Okay. Council?
Yeah, I understand, but I still hope the city council would reconsider all those facts. That is, my client is not intentionally doing anything wrong, whatever, and they're willing to correct anything that is not perfect.
Okay.
And they don't have other means to make a living here. Just please consider that part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard multiple voices. Councilmember Wells?
Your Honor, I move staff recommendation to revoke the license of therapeutic massage enterprise license of Blue Sky Spa, effective immediately.
Second.
Mr. Brody, do you want all these?
I would ask that
written
at
in?
least you would have it, at least put in based on the
Based on the 8 stated conditions.
thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Wells, second by Johnson, to revoke therapeutic massage enterprise license issued to Blue Sky Spa effective immediately based on the following 8 stated conditions. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
I
Geisler?
think it's general consensus with the council that I appreciate that it's an honest mistake potentially, but we've told you what the code is. We're revoking it. You have the opportunity to fix it and come back and do the application. And I think that is more than fair. It allows them to put their things back in order and come back with the right kind of an application with the appropriate licenses.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. We're at the open mic public comment portion of the meeting. Is anybody here to address council for open mic? Wow. Just here for the fun. All right, we don't have any reports on previous open mics. We are up to other business. Mr. Himmer, how's it going? to talk about snow or anything?
No, thank you.
We did have a lot of complaints that a lot of them seem to come out of that neighborhood north of Northdale and west of Foley. And I don't know if that neighborhood was just centered differently under the storm, the timing was different from the plows, but that was where I got the majority of my complaints was from that neighborhood. And I just kept telling him, your council member is Bill Kicker.
He did, every one of them said that.
Mr. Mayor, I actually got a compliment from a resident on how well the streets were being done, and that, whether it was true or not, that they felt like the driver dropped the big load of snow before he got to his clean driveway, so there wasn't as much for him to clean up after got to the driveway, so.
And Councilmember Wells appreciated that.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't.
It wasn't, but, it was a lot of snow and an awful lot of work.
I had a lot of positive comments as well. I thought we would start with with that area up there that.
No, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it was a large event. Yes, we had lots of new staff doing different things, considering even a street supervisor. We're still working on the sidewalks. They'll be out again early morning, finishing up the sidewalk work, but they did get everything done again today. Multiple days, long hours, lots of reminders of missed streets, and I'll say nothing necessarily got missed, it just didn't get cleaned as well as it should have the first round. So happy to say they're all done now, and we'll be back on the sidewalks tomorrow. Most of the school zones are done. We'll be back out on Main Street, Coon Rapids Boulevard, Hanson, kind of the major ones first, and then by the end of the week, it'll probably all be melted, and we'll be hoping to talk about reconstruction projects.
62 on Monday.
Yeah.
Well, and that was actually one of the suggestions that came with one of the emails today was, they live on Wren Street, right next to Coon Rapids High School, and they said that street used to get plowed right away because the kids walk on that road to get to school. And they said now that it seems like it's getting later and later, and the kids are trying to make their way through unplowed streets. And I wonder, are we working with the school district, or do we know all of those school routes? Do we prioritize those?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we always look at that 1 mile around the schools kind of as that walk zone, and that was one street we've kind of been kicking around as one of those state aid streets potentially, which then becomes one of the dark red lines on the map, which becomes a main, and those are always one that get done first. Those are the ones that were done 2 or 3 times on Saturday, and they've been probably done another 3 times since then. But once you got to the pavement, they stayed dry and clean, and then we had to focus on the neighborhoods.
Okay. Councilmember Demmer?
Yeah, and along those lines, just for people at home, I mean, the people came in and worked ridiculously long shifts, working heavy machinery both days of the weekend, and you can only be out there so many hours before it's not safe. And so if, when it snows that hard for that long, you just run out of hours. And I think that, when you see the pictures that people posted from other cities, I mean, we had just as much snow, and the roads were quite passable. That said, I think anytime we get something, as a city, we budget for a normal cycle, because if we were budgeting for the worst possible snowstorm, then people would complain our taxes were too high. So if we budget for this sort of thing, but then when a really bad one comes along, I'm guessing for sure there's a few lessons learned we're going to pick up for here's what to do the next time we get 20 inches. But overall, I had to drive around a bit on the weekend, and I was pleasantly surprised with how clear most of the roads were, given how long and how hard it snowed.
If you go back to one of the previous items, you saw the parentheses around snow removal for 2017. I don't know that we'll see that come 2018, considering where we are already, but it's been a long few days. We'll get through it, and like I said, the sun will shine, and we'll be talking about reconstruction before you know it.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to thank Mr. Himmert and have him thank his staff. I was out probably against better judgment at some times, driving around, and I pulled 4 people out of the ditch. The only plows I saw out in the multiple cities I was in were the Coon Rapids plows. And I had great fun teasing my friends in Maple Grove, who had not yet been plowed out come Sunday, that much of Coon Rapids was already clear. So I know there were areas where it was difficult and people had challenges and things like that. But all in all, in the final analysis, I'm really proud of the work that Coon Rapids did. And then to, you know, some people might have seen this on social media, others might not have, but to see that the Public Works Department was partnering with the fire department to make sure that if there were any emergencies that happened, and if I remember on Friday, there was a fire. You know, there were some emergencies that happened, to be able to have a plow that could clear the path for any fire trucks. And then to see the police department out and the community service officers out helping people was really impressive. So,
Chief Paper, would you say that the plow let them out on 10 calls? Or what was it?
Mayor, council members, we had snow plows in both Station 1 and Station 2, and they were used, I believe, at least 3 times in each station to get our trucks to the calls. And so the police and fire work together every day in this community, but for this weekend, we really needed a lot of help from our public works folk, and we greatly appreciate it.
well, we appreciate the teamwork.
And we got to be firemen for a day.
Did you get a red stripe on the box?
Sat with the Dalmatian.
Everybody grew up the same, everybody wanted to be a fireman.
Well, at least they didn't flip coins and say, who gets to drive the fire truck, who gets to drive the plow?
As far as we know. So other business, I have to mention, I feel summer is really around the corner. Tim Anderson is back at our council meeting again, and I'll bet he's gonna have a golf course update for us.
Mayor Council, I do have a golf course update. The air at the golf course is filled with eager anticipation. Thousands of golfers and hundreds of high school golfers, and I feel terrible for the high school golfers, but they're putting in the Hall of Fame area and utilizing the simulator space, and it's great we have those spaces for them to do. The good news is the golf season is right around the corner. The bad news is the corner is up the street a ways. So it's going to be, we hope we have some April golf, let's put it this way. But last year was the earliest opening in 50 years, and this may just beat 2013 for the latest. That was April 26th, and this might be right around that date or a little bit later. So we're eagerly anticipating the beginning of the season. So.
All right.
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember
Regarding
Griscoe.
that golf course, there's a big pile of sand over there, right? Have those bunkers begun the renovations, or is that the spring work yet?
That is the spring work, and we had hoped certainly that work had already started, but they're moving machinery into place this week and are going to start work next week and should still meet the scheduled project date. So.
Any other business to come before council?
Mr. Mayor, members of the
Hammer.
council, briefly, next Thursday through Sunday, April 26th through the 29th is Myths and Legends, the ice show at the Coon Rapids Ice Arena, so skating school, guest skaters. So Thursday through Saturday, 6:30 p.m., and Sunday the 29th at 2 p.m. Tickets available.
All right. It's always a great show. My favorite one is the father-daughter, or the father-daughter skate. That's pretty cool, whatever you call it now. All right, any other business? Mr. Brody?
If you don't mind, it's
Wow,
not nearly
you
as...
never have other business for us.
No, not nearly as exciting as fire trucks or snow plows, but we do want to invite our residents to Anoka County Law Day, which is being held on April 27th at the Anoka County Courthouse from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It was kind of a sleepy little event until a few years ago, and it's kind of become a big deal and kind of a cool opportunity. It's free. They have all kinds of free things going on, like free legal clinics, so if you really need help with child support, immigration, conservatorship, adult and juvenile expungement, evictions, warrants. So if you honestly have a warrant and you want to turn yourself in, this is a great opportunity to do so, because you won't actually go into custody, and you'll be able to take care of that. Driver's license reinstatements. There'll also be courthouse tours for those more law-abiding folks, and Q&A sessions with the district court judge, and always a highlight too is a K-9 unit demonstration. So again, that's April 27th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. up at our Anoka County Courthouse. I know our office is heavily involved. We like to see a lot of people out there. A great way to see how the legal system works, and more importantly, get some free legal advice if you need it.
Very cool.
Thank you.
In the real old days, they used to get a helicopter in from the National Guard. Can you do that?
We're not quite there yet. Got to have goals.
Is there a helipad there anymore? You have to land it in the parking garage by Serums. No. All right, any other business? Somebody want to get us out of here?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Griscoviac, second by Kippert to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We're adjourned.